Hi, this is Susan. Yeah, I'm holding a lamp with a coin battery, and you've probably seen this several times. This is not glued together, it's just put together, and there's a reason for that. But, I see this all the time. I see people showing their lamp, and they've got the coin battery, and I'm kind of going, okay, but I'm not going to hold that, so what next? And so I started investigating all this, and I said I would get back with you. And so that's what I'm doing. And this is going to be a two-parter because I have more dollhouse lighting that I want to cover in a part two. So I just want to talk about battery lights for right now. And okay, I've had some questions about putting these together, so that's why this is not all together. And we'll go over that. Now this is your coin battery that's inside of these little coin packs. These came from Michael's, these 2 packs, and I know you'll see them everywhere, just like just a little simple thing, and this goes in here. Someone told me these last 4 hours. I'm not sure if that's what that is, the actual coin. Now these 2 lights, I have had this one wired to this 9-volt that's inside of here, one of the 9-volt type batteries that you see in a smoke detector. That's inside this box. And they do have those connectors that, go on the tops. They have those on Temu. This one is wired into what is going to a transformer here in the garage. That is the way dollhouse lighting is done, with a transformer. And that's going to be in part 2. Now this one right down here, I just did it earlier and put it on a battery pack from a fairy light. So let me cut these others off and move them aside. Oh, yeah, I did want to tell you, these are 12 volt. When they go to the dollhouse, they're 12 volt. This, I said, was 9 volt, and the fairy lights are 3 volt. But the fairy lights are LED, so they really don't compare. I tried to compare them to see. I actually put 2 fairy lights. Let's look at the fairy lights. And this is the one I was working on, and we're going to finish it. And this one, okay, so this is the pack of, of fairy lights. Turn them on. They're all there. And they're so small. They're little nano lights, and they just take a little drop of something that hardens and cover up the little nano light, and it makes it look larger. But these actually will break off of the line. So if you want extra line, you can just kind of open this up and stretch it, and it'll break one of those off. But when it does it, that means it's opened up, because it doesn't have sheathing on it. And so you could get your shock from it. So you need to be careful if you take one of the pieces off in the line. Now, I wanted to show you something I discovered in these fairy lights. You know how we talk about where to get shrink tubing? Well, when I was looking at the parts of this, and this is the part that goes, this thicker part goes to the battery. And this thinner right here goes to all the fairy lights. And right here, these came from Dollar Tree. I don't know if they're all like this, but this has a little cover, a little rubber cover on each line, the positive, the negative, that covers their work, and it slides right off. So if you have these, this is wonderful. You can turn this into a light and use these little rubber pieces. Now you can see they soldered it. That's why it slid off real easily, because they just soldered their work. And we're going to twist wire, twist it together and then cover it back up. And so this will be tighter because the twist is bulkier. But where I took this apart, and I did find that you have to figure out on this side, the two wires here, which side it goes to on your fairy light side. And if you want to mark that in advance, you might mark the piece this side to this side so it works right away, because I thought my batteries were dead. I was having so much trouble with it first, and then I realized I needed to flip the line, and I did that, and then it just lit right up on this one. So they do have a right side and a wrong side. And so you might want to mark them in advance, or know that that might come up, and you'll just need to reverse the lines. But see, these pop right off, but it leaves a little space there that's not sheathed. So what I did was I cut a little piece of this, and I put it right there on each side after I took the nanolite off. So, you know, you've seen people cut them from the end, where they'll just take a piece off the end, and then that's what they'll use in the light. And that's just what I did. And so, like I said, I just, instead of twisting, you know, one set of wires to this part of the line, I put two up in there, and I twisted them together, and then I twisted them to each of this and covered it with their own sheathing right there. So can you see that sheathing? And I did cut a piece of it smaller. But I wanted to make the light brighter. You can see inside the light, it's wider because it's got two in there. I just wanted to make it real bright. See what it turned out to do. And when you do, whether you do this battery pack, these are 1.5 volt, which ends up being 3 volts. These are the same as these coins, as far as they're both 3 volt. So if you use this, or if you use this, you're going to get the same result, and they are compatible with the fairy lights. So I'll show you something about the building these lights, what I use, but I wanted to show you this piece right here. It doesn't fit on the tubing, so you'll need to, if you get this, it came off of Temu, but it's also on eBay. But if you get this, you'll need to snip it in 3 places and then spread it apart, and then go and cover it with, if you have this little star, it's a little star shape, or whatever you have, just put it on the back side to cover your work. And that's what I've done here, so that it would fit over the tubing. And on the gooseneck, that's what I did. I put it there, but I also put it down here with another bead cap to give me something to hold the tubing, because this wasn't quite big enough for the tubing to go through it. So I just glued those pieces onto it, and then the tubing is sitting in those pieces. Okay, so let's talk about the 2 things that are important to know in building these little oil lamps. 3 things. The tubing itself. This is a 3/32. Let me show you this. This is the packaging. It says it's brass. It's from K&S Engineering, made in USA. The number is 5126, 3/32 brass tubing, and it's 4 pieces to a package. So this came from Hobby Lobby years ago. I imagine they still have it in the, you know, trains and all the hobby stuff, that aisle. But this is what I'm using throughout them, because they do have on Temu, they had a little bit bigger, which would fit through like these big hole beads. This is quite large. And some of these that are acrylic have large holes. You know, these are metal colored, but they're acrylic. And these come in gold, silver, white, black. They had tons of these on Temu. And those have a pretty large hole. And they have the bases as well. Or bead caps that would work for bases. Those all fit. And then they had tube style. It had big holes. But these were all that plastic. It's like, I think it's called acrylic. Now these are all, like for modern, these are ceramics. And I have a whole bunch of little ceramics down here that the tube fits in them. And some came off Temu, some off eBay. Just look up flowered ceramic bead if you're interested in a ceramic style. Now, you know, like I said, I'm using the 3/32. Now there is, you can look for that on Temu. They did have this that was just a little bit bigger, but it's fine for those big hole beads. That you can see the difference, the graduating difference. And I'm using the smaller. And the fairy lights go through it. I mean, I put 4 lines into this one I was showing you. Just got so many beads here. Goodness. Into this one, it has, you know, 4 lines going through this. And if you're trying to curve this, you know, you just gently curve it over your needle tool. I just took that and gently worked at it. Just go gently. And the smaller, I think, better. The smaller the tubing. And go that side and then work this side, you know, get it curved and then cut it and work on it some more. But don't be in a rush. Really go slowly to keep from getting kinks in it. And if you get kinks, go ahead. You know, I took one piece that I got a bunch of kinks and I just kinked it a whole bunch more and made it look distressed, kind of, you know, hammered metal. And I'll still use it. So, it's not the end of the world. I did find this. This is an old pen. This is the part of the old pen, but it had the ink in it. But if you can get the ink out with like a toothpick or something. I tried soaking it in alcohol. That didn't work. But it still has a clot of ink in it. But there you go. That's a brass tubing from those old pen cartridges. So that's something you might have around in an old drawer, you know, somewhere. Okay, so the things you need to know is the tubing size, and you don't, when you start dry fitting your pieces onto your tubing, you want to recess the base, the tubing in the base, so that you have room for the wire. Now this one, of course, has room all around it, but you might, you know, be using a solid piece, and you don't want to cut your, with the weight of it constantly sitting on the wire, you don't want to cut through the sheathing and short it out. So just recess it, just the slightest, you know, enough for the wire to come out. And you could put the wire through this base. And at the top, I'm not gluing the globe to the tubing. I'm using this little flower, and I'm gluing. See how this is flush? The light is flush right there with the tubing, right at the point of the flower. Can you see that? That's so my light stays down low in the globe. If you have the tubing coming up, then the light is going to sit up higher. So I did it flush, and then when you go to glue this on, you just very carefully put glue on the tips of the flower. Just real gently, maybe use a toothpick, and then set that on to the flower petal of the, it's a bead cap, but it's flower design. And then straighten it up, and there you go. You know, the flame will sit low in your globe. And actually, I found when I started like putting a lot of these beads onto the tubing that it helped things not be so fiddly. And for this one, this had such big holes. If you come across these big holes, this flower bead cap is wonderful for covering those up. You get the accent color there, but then it does cover those big holes. And so once I, glue this up, and it'll be real easy to glue because it's sitting on that tubing. And so I'll just glue this together. But I couldn't work with it. I couldn't actually show it to you with the lighting and everything if it had glue, because you're using either this Gorilla Super Glue gel. You want to make sure you get gel, or you're using the Loctite Super Glue Gel Control. It says gel down here. And I can't find where this one, it said it on the packaging, but I don't see it. It just says super glue here. But you want the gel. Either one of these is fine. You get more for your money in the Gorilla, but I think the applicator's better in the Loctite. So either one's fine. And this is the one that I did half of it, and then I still have half to go to show you. So I put this together, let it dry, and again, you can see in here, see how low the tubing is around the bead, well, around the light. See in there? You don't see the tubing sticking up because it's flush. And I glued this onto the little flower or petal looking bead cap. And then I sat there watching it, make sure it's dry. So I can pull this down. This is a copper version of it. It came from Dollar Tree, but I guess they had copper before they went to the this color. I prefer this like silver, I guess, because you can tell when you go and take you have to, okay, first we'll cut it. So let's start at the beginning. I did one side just for getting it lit, but once you cut it off, you have to clean right here and get the sheathing off of it. And you might have seen people do that, but you have to do that to make the connection. So this is the line of it, and you'll be cutting a piece off right here at the next light, and then you'll work with this section right here, and that's what I've done here. I actually broke off another light so that I could have a longer piece, and then I've set the tubing that I found on their connection down here where they connected to their battery pack. I saved that tubing so that I could use it. So I covered up right here where the nano light was sitting, because that was going to be open for me to shock myself. So I covered that up with half of that tubing that I found down by the battery pack. And then I put the other half, you can see there's a little piece, there's a piece. I put the other half on there because I need to slide it onto our work. So you see here I've already done it. Let's look at that so we know what we're doing. So we have the light section and we have the battery pack section. And we need to join them together and then pull that sheathing onto it. And see, here's the battery pack. And if it doesn't work, before you pull the sheathing and everything, give it a try, turn it on, and see if it works. If it doesn't work, that means you need to reverse these wires and, turn this over and hook this wire to this one and this one to this one. And then it should turn on. Okay, so before, you see the wires are right here for the battery pack. I just cut the sheathing. There is a stripper. You have to be really gentle when you're doing that. This is a wire stripper. You can find this like at Harbor Freight or something. It's got teeth right here. And I just very gently put this over that sheathing and tapped on it. Just tapped on it till I got a cut in it. And then I used my fingernail to pull it off. And it came off. So you can use these scissors, or I mean these cutters, but you just have to be so gentle because otherwise you'll cut through the wire. And they do make Circuit Concepts makes a stripper, and it's just a little gator thing, but you can purchase a little stripper, wire stripper. And this is really meant for dollhouse wire, you know, the thinner flame bulb wire, which I'll talk about this in the next video. So, and I've got all those parts. And here's the shrink tubing, though. You may want to order their shrink tubing. Okay, so let me show this to you real quick. See, it's right down here in the corner. Let's see if you can see it. Can you see? Okay, it's only like 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch pieces. They're really tiny. And here's the paperwork for it. And I tell you, always keep all of your electrical paperwork. You never know what you're going to want to use again and what you've already tried. So be sure you do not throw away any of your paperwork that you purchased, because there's like 3 or 4 companies that put out electrical that I had in my stash. So keep all their paperwork. You might like one thing better than another. And you can write on them too. You know, I liked these versus this, you know, other companies. So here's the Circuit Concepts. And that's how they spell it there. And this is the shrink tube. There's the number CK1033-3. Clear heat shrink tubes. And there's 12 to a pack. And it is very small. And I didn't see it on Temu that small. And I have seen where somebody bought a whole package, which they only use the smallest pieces, and then they've got all these other bigger tubes that, you know, I don't know if they'd get around to using them. So I just love that these battery packs for $1.25 come with their own sheathing. This sheathing is, you know, it's right here at the connection between the fairy light and the battery pack wiring. Let's see, this is the one that's not cut. See, that's right, that sheathing is right there. So you can definitely use that over again. And then I'm going to finish up by using this. This is Star Bright liquid electrical tape. And it's really smelly. You need ventilation. So I'm not going to use this tonight because I need a fan. I need a mask. It's right up there with E6000. It's terrible smell, but it works. And you're not supposed to put it directly on the lines, but I've seen people do that. But you're supposed to put it on the shrink tubing or on whatever, the rubber tubing, and then it will seal that tubing onto your work. So this is Star Bright, and it comes in clear, white, black, but some reason the clear was $5 cheaper, so I got the clear. And this is a 4-ounce can, but definitely ventilation. That smells really strong, and you know, don't get your face down in it. So let's see, back to the piece we were working on. That's this one. Okay, so to finish this, to connect this one piece here, we've got to strip off the sheathing. And the way you do that is just take your utility knife blade and just lay it on the surface and literally just scrape it all the way around. And as you're scraping, when you're using the white line, the clear or white line, you'll start to see the pink. Now this one's a copper line, so it was a little harder. So what you want to do if you get a copper one is feel the smoothness before you start taking it off, and then you'll be able to feel the difference, the roughness, once you start working that sheathing off. And it'll come off real easy. And just do, you know, like a 1/2 or 3/8 of an inch, just the end, because you're just going to twist it. But it has to have that off. It has to have that off, off of there just for the coin to be able to make contact with it. And so you just go around, make sure it's all the way off, and you'll see the copper if you're using the clear lines, you'll see the pink start coming through. Okay, so then the other side, which we had to strip it, it's just like 3 or 4 wires. So you need to twist those wires, and then take this one and twist these together. Get them together real good. Down to the sheathing, to this sheathing. Twist that wire. You think you've got it good together. Then you need to lay it towards the fairy light side, because this is thicker already, and you need that piece of rubber to go over it. So you want to pinch it down towards, let's see if you can see this. See, I twisted it, and then I pushed it towards the fairy light side, because this is thick already, has insulation. And then we're going to bring that piece of insulation rubber that was down by the battery pack originally. We're going to bring that up here and cover our work. But I'm going to trim this because you can see one side sticking out, and it doesn't need to be that long. So I'm just going to take some scissors and trim that back a little bit. You need the rubber to cover it completely. So now pinch it down, get it real small. You see that? And then we're going to slip this onto it. There we go. Slip that. I just love that these have their own sheathing. That's wonderful. Okay, so see, now I would normally take this liquid electric tape and cover that over, so that these won't go anywhere with all the moving around that goes on with these little things. And so let's see. Look at this. There we go. Wow, it works. Isn't that great? And it's so easy. And it's so wonderful when you're using these fairy lights to have that little extra tubing. So just don't lose that and don't cut through it. And then you can use it. Look at that. Isn't that wonderful? And it's really bright. I think it's really quite bright for it being, this one's only 1. Let's see, compare the 2. I put 2 in this. So let's compare them. And, and what's weird is these are 2 different lights. This one, you can see the copper line, and this one had the white line. And I'll tell you, the copper one looks like it's a lot brighter. That's odd. I don't know what the difference is. They both came from Dollar Tree. And the battery packs look the same. So now, if you're questioning, about the coin is the same principle. So let me show you, the coin, it looks the very same. It's 3 volts, just like this battery is 1.2 1.5s. Duracells are in here. But the AA's, these have 2 in here, so that's a 3 volt. And this little coin is a 3 volt. So let's see how bright it is. I think these look brighter. That one looks so blue. But you can do the very same thing. You'll just cut this off and strip this back, and then use your fairy light pieces to connect to that. But there. So simple. So simple. So that's all in part 1. And I do, oh, I take that back. I wanted to talk real quick about battery lights. We bought all these adorable battery lights. And I just want to tell you, after I got a few, I don't think these are good everywhere in your dollhouse, especially because you have to reach your hand through your room to try to find a really tiny little switch. And here's the original version that's made in the 9-volt that has the wire and it plugs into your strip. And see how short it is? And that was so your hand had clearance to get past it. And look, they had to make this longer to give you room to reach up here and try to find the little, tiny little switch right there. So people started using batteries, and that's what I'm going to do with them in my room box, is put it up with a battery up in the medallion. You know, the medallion that you goes around it. You can hide the battery up there, but you have to take it out, you know, turn it on, put it back in. When you want to turn it off, take it out, put it back in. And I can't imagine doing that in a whole dollhouse. So these kind of lights in the sconces, maybe not a great idea for a dollhouse. Maybe go back and rethink doing the wiring and, you know, and learn. There's different kinds of techniques for wiring. So I just wanted to share that with you. Now, I bought 4 of these, and these came off Temu. This is about $20. And I thought, this is absolutely adorable. It was before I ever made mine. And I never thought about making my own. And oh, I'm having trouble finding that little switch. Okay, there it is. Isn't that adorable? I just think that's the cutest little thing in the world. Now, again, I have to pull it off the table or the desk so I don't knock over the minis, you know, to try to turn it on and then put it back in place. But I just don't see the ceiling lights working as easily unless you do the batteries, but then a whole dollhouse full of them. Oh my gosh, that'd be so much work to try to turn them on and turn them off. So anyway, I just want to share that idea with you, that thought, and you decide. And then we'll talk about strip and round wire in the next video. And I got a pack. I actually got this $66 pack of dollhouse lighting from Savers for $13. Can you believe that? You never know what you're going to find. Look at this. This is literally a whole pack for a small dollhouse, and it was $66, and I paid $13. So we're going to go through this. It's got the transformer in it and everything. So I thank y'all, and I'm sorry this is such a cluttery mess, but I hope you, if you have any questions, please just shoot me a comment, and I'll try to answer that for you. Cute. So cute and fun. Look at that. Okay, please like, share, subscribe. I'm so trying to grow my channel, so please subscribe. Thank you very much.